Namaskar. Welcome to another 9 p.m. live. Now, thank you so much for yesterday's response. Lots of questions. And I will come back to you with a lot of answers. But before that, a lot of confusion, isn't it? Lot of confusion. Some experts say 350 for Bharatiya Janata Party. Mr. Narendra Modi is coming back for sure. One set of experts. Another set of experts says no way. 240 to 60. That is what we heard from Yogendra Yadav yesterday in this same program. Okay, na? So, okay, that's confusion. Now, like a lot of you ask, Baba, who should we believe? Which side is the right side? Okay, na? A lot of you also ask me, क्या फर्क पड़ता है यार? What does it make? How does it make a difference? ठीक है, we'll see. 2 more weeks to go, isn't it? नहीं, फर्क पड़ता है. I'll tell you why. You see, 20% of election is yet to get over. Now, if you create a narrative, if you create a certain narrative, that is definitely going to have impact on the vote, which is not really fair. So if you're going to say that, one set of parties, they're not going to do well, or you ask one set of leaders that you should step down, and kuch hone wala nahi hai. All this definitely going to affect the election. You're influencing the election. Now that's not fair, is it? Okay. So that's the conclusion, and that's why we're talking on this subject. That's number one. Two, like I always say, there are few people in this country that whose opinion I take very, very seriously. And Dr. Parakala Prabhakar is one of them. And you guys wrote to me, a lot of you all wrote to me asking me to call him back and ask him about this. So here you are. I've got Dr. Parakala Prabhakar with me, and let's talk to him. Let's talk to him and find out what exactly is this confusion. Let's get right into the show, guys. Doctor, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much. And sorry, your mic was muted. So here you are. Thank you so much for joining. And such a pleasure talking to you as always. Sir, what is this?
I love to be on your show.
Thank you so much. What is this confusion all about? Before I get into that, let's kind of dissect this problem. I want to ask you a few questions and get my mind straight, sir. Doctor, is there a BJP in this country, or is it only Modi? Is there a political party called Bharatiya Janata Party?
I share your your dilemma or your doubt, because you see, we had seen Bharatiya Janata Party, we had seen Bharatiya Janasangh, and Bharatiya Janata Party, when it wanted to come to power, it pulled up some other parties and had an alliance, and it used to be called National Democratic Alliance. And National Democratic Alliance used to give out a manifesto saying, agenda for governance, good governance, or whatever. And at the head of NDA was BJP, and BJP was headed by Atal Bihari Vajpayee or Lal Krishna Advani and people like that. Today, you have NDA, which is nominal, because there are now, I think, 27 or 29 parties. Most of them, I say, almost about 7 parties come from Tamil Nadu, which have even potentially also they cannot win a single seat. That kind of some alliance is put together. That's one. The second thing is that it was never called, since 2014, it was never called NDA government. It used to be called, for a brief while, it was called BJP government, but it was called actually Modi government, Modi Sarkar. Today, it is Modi Sarkar. And then, as I referred to the manifesto earlier, the agenda for governance, good governance and all that. Today, it is Modi guarantee. It is not NDA guarantee. It is not BJP's guarantee. It is Modi guarantee. And in a 73, 74 page Ghoshna Patra, whatever, Modi guarantee, the manifesto, you had 50 photographs of the Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi. So whose party is it anyway? Is it one person's party or two persons party, or some people say 1.5% party? We do not know. But it's certainly not as an institutional structure, which used to pride itself in processes and collective leadership, and not Vyakti Puja, not personality cult, and all that kind of a thing. Somehow, all that those things have become things of the past. So I do share
Correct.
with that. Yes.
So, Doctor, then what are we talking about? You have voters who either votes for Modi or who votes against Modi, isn't it? Are there
You know,
any? Is there a third kind of voter?
Sujit, we need to examine this a bit carefully. Um, you know, of course, Narendra Modi is an important factor in BJP's popularity. No one can deny that. But then, what has he brought? What was the accrual to BJP? Um, you know, um, for instance, look at Bharatiya Janasangh, BJS. The Bharatiya Janasangh, which went on a very, very kind of a, you know what, you can call it a communal agenda, Hindutva agenda, that kind of a thing. It never crossed 12, 13% of vote share, even at its peak. Now, when it comes to Bharatiya Janata Party, which started with the Gandhian socialism and all that kind of a thing, in 1998 was their peak. Before 2014, I'm talking about. That was around 25%. Now, 25% along with allies and all that kind of a thing. Then in 2014, under Sri Narendra Modi's leadership, the party alone polled 31%. But then 31%, you cannot say that it is entirely BJP's vote, because, for instance, look at, say, nearer home, my home state, Andhra Pradesh. If BJP polled in a constituency about 3 lakh votes, BJP doesn't have 3 lakh votes there. But then their allies pool in. A lot of milk also is poured in by the allies. So all that gets into the BJP's account. Therefore, it is 35%. But if you apply the correctives, then you can say that BJP under Narendra Modi at its peak, I mean, in 2014, was somewhere around, from, if you correct it from 31%, it could be 27, 28%, which means the effective addition or accrual to BJP on account of Sri Narendra Modi was about 3 to 4%. You see, you have to look at that. And then comes 2019. In 2019, the BJP's vote share went up to 37% in the wake of Pulwama and Balakot and all that kind of a thing. Again, if you apply the correctives, if you adjust the allies vote share, and then look at roughly what could be the exact vote share of the BJP alone, then it could have been, say, about 27% or so, 26 to 27%, which again means that from the peak of under Vajpayee, 25 to 26%, to again 27% or 28%. In between, there was a dip. It went up to, in 2009, it was 18%. So, which means the actual net accrual on account of Sri Narendra Modi could not have been more than 4 to 5%, or if you want to be generous, maybe about 5 to 6%. So the rest of it, almost about 22% of the vote is there with the BJP, and on account of their ideological position, or an opposition to Congress, or opposition to other parties, etc., etc. So what, if you look at that from that perspective, then you cannot say it is just Modi. It's not just Narendra Modi. And another thing, what impressed me in your introductory remarks, Sujit, was that you talked about what I call a bandwagon effect in elections. Suppose if a candidate or a party is potentially going to poll about 10 votes, if people perceive that candidate or a party to be a winning candidate or a winning party, then the vote might go up to 15. But if that 10 votes a party or a candidate is likely to get, if that party or a candidate is perceived as losing, those 10 might become 7. or six. You know, so a winner always has some kind of a bandwagon effect. So if you make all the corrections, then the net accrual on account of Narendra Modi is not significantly high as people are under the impression that it is.
Correct. So then, doctor, I want to ask you, what is the strategy? What is this Modi ki guarantee? What is this mujhe vote do, vote for me, not for anybody else? On what basis is Bharatiya Janata Party basing its strategy on? And
No,
number one, sorry, yeah, please, 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 please.
no, carry on, no problem.
No, please, I'll ask you later. No
No,
problem.
no, you see, I do not think it is the Bharatiya Janata Party strategy. It is the prime minister and the prime minister's, people who are close to the prime minister, who are now calling the shots in the party. So you have to look at it that way. I do not think it is the strategy of the entire Bharatiya Janata Party or the Bharatiya Janata Party ecosystem. I do not think so. If that is the case, why would you have Modi guarantee as the title for a manifesto? One, and secondly,
Correct.
why would you have about 50 photographs of the prime minister in the manifesto? So
Correct.
it's not.
So that takes us back to my first question. Is there a Bharatiya Janata Party? Because if one man can rule over an entire organization, which is supposed to be very hardcore ideology based and
Ideological.
all that, yeah,
Ideological.
correct. Where is the ideology, and how can one man rule an ideology in totality? Isn't that
You,
dichotomy?
Sujit, after these elections are over, and as I suppose, and as I foresee, uh, my forecast, if that comes true, if BJP is likely to lose according to my understanding, after that the BJP as an organization, and also probably the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh as a cultural organization, the mentor organization. These two will have to work very hard for at least about 10 to 15 years to make the organization stand up again as an organization. You see, today what I see is BJP as an organization is almost defunct as an organization, as a party organization. There could be a lot of people who are admirers of a particular person, the prime minister, Sri Narendra Modi, and all that apart. But what happened to the organization? And all the kind of things that have been going on for a long time, the kind of electoral bonds, the kind of corruption, which was not the case, which was not a part of the BJP's declared culture, or the Sangh's declared culture. Whatever could be their shortcomings or strengths, but corruption, wrongdoing, weakening of the institutions, and impropriety. These are not the hallmarks, as far as I know. So if you look at that, after this defeat, I think they are going to have a clean up a lot. I think all these people will have to carry the cans after these elephants vacate the main road. If there after that, the Rajpath will have to be cleaned.
Correct. Doctor, I want to base my premises, and that's precisely what I'm trying to work towards. You see, in South, say we have Stalin. So there, you don't have a Modi. BJP is not doing too well. Kerala, we have a Pinarayi Vijayan. Modi is not doing too well. Now we have a DK Shivkumar in Karnataka, and Sitaramaya says, I would say DK Shivkumar. So Modi is not doing as good as what he did 2019. The point I'm trying to make is wherever there is a defined leader, Modi is not doing well. Wherever there is no clearly defined leader, like in Uttar Pradesh, like in Himachal Pradesh, like in Gujarat, like in Delhi, like in most of these places, Modi is doing exceedingly well. He is sweeping the polls. That's where I go back to my question. So, is India voting for or against Modi? And if that's the case, then I will ask you my next question. Because I was just basing a premise on that. Sir, your view on this.
That is an interesting way of looking at it, the whole thing, Sujit. Leader and one leader versus the other. And I won't find fault with that till now, until this election. All the elections earlier, whether it is Modi, whether it is Vajpayee, whether it was Indira Gandhi, etc., is fine. Rajiv Gandhi and all that is fine. But this election, I think, after having traveled as much as I did, and after having spoken to a cross section of the people across the country, I perceive this election in a very different way, Sujit. This election is not an election between or a fight between one leader, Modi, and another leader. One organization, the Bharatiya Janata Party, another party, another organization. One alliance, the National Democratic Alliance, and another alliance. I think this, to my mind, as far as I have observed, this election is a fight between Narendra Modi, BJP, NDA on the one side, and the people of India on the other side. And my understanding is, Sujit, that, in front of the people of India, the tallest leader, including Narendra Modi, even a taller or a stronger leader than that, also would look like a Lilliput. And in front of the people of India, even the best of organizations like the Bharatiya Janata Party, which is a formidable juggernaut, electoral juggernaut, a formidable election fighting machine, also would look like a toy car. And in front of the people of India, in front of the might of the people of India, the big alliance, 27, 29 parties alliance like the National Democratic Alliance would look like, clueless, scattered bunch of ants. So that is going to be the fight today. So if you look at, if not Modi, who, if not BJP, which party, if not NDA, which alliance, then you are bound to go wrong in this election. This is not that kind of election. People are not electing somebody, as an alternative to Narendra Modi. I think people, as far as I know, I've seen the mood has set in to somehow, get rid of the present dispensation, the present regime. That is the mood that I read, Sujit.
Doctor, then it is interesting because 2019, the basic factor, the basic point that we were all talking about is the Tina factor. There is no alternative factor. Now you are saying the question of Tina factor doesn't arise, and it's a fact. What you're saying is absolutely correct because we don't see the Tina factor. It's not Rahul Gandhi versus Narendra Modi anymore. It doesn't matter whether whoever is the opposition. It is people are either going to reward Narendra Modi for the work he did for last 10 years or punish Narendra Modi for what he didn't do last 10 years. So that's where
you put it so well, yes.
Sir, if that's the point, then if that's our premises, so let's start our discussion from here. If that is our premises, where we are saying that people are going to either punish Narendra Modi or reward Narendra Modi, so now I ask you, if you were, as an economist, to dissect Narendra Modi's 10 years, how would you put it?
Okay. Let me take you back to 2014, Sujit, just for a while. And then let us examine that pitch and the 2019 pitch and the 2024 pitch. Then you will understand what exactly is this. 2014, the pitch was not communal pitch. The pitch was not Hindu Rashtra, Hindutva, Hindu versus Muslim, Mangal Sutra, Mams, and all that kind of a thing. It was straight a pitch of anti-corruption because in India against corruption, the movement was very, very strong then, and then policy paralysis, against policy paralysis, bringing back the black money from Swiss banks, and then doubling the farmers' income, and addressing the creation of 2 crore jobs, that kind of a narrative. And I very well remember, as much as you do, that the then prime ministerial candidates in Narendra Modi went around the country saying that the fight is not between Hindus and Muslims. The fight is between Hindus and Muslims on the one side and unemployment and poverty on the other side. So that was the pitch, and that pitch against the background of India against corruption, and Narendra Modi saying that my Gujarat, look at my record, Gujarat, vibrant Gujarat, they have developed Gujarat, Gujarat model, and oratory. In contrast to Manmohan Singh, who was a very calm going and not a flamboyant, that kind of thing. And in that context, Narendra Modi came across as a huge icon, and people have voted for it. And then what was I told you about what was the accrual of all that effort. The all that effort gave them an additional 4 to 5%. Okay. Now, 2019, their vote share went up to 37%, nominally. But if you apply the correctives again, that could come down to say 31% or 32%, which means the net accrual again. If you put it from compare it from say 2014 or even 1998, again the accrual was very marginal, and that time it was Pulwama, Balakot, along with 5 years is not enough. Give me some more time, and promising kind of a thing. Now the BJP itself, the BJP's leadership or the present leadership, the Prime Minister and his associates, have forgotten what was the pitch that brought them to power, and now got into a pure rabid Hindutva, Hindu Rashtra kind of a pitch, which could never take the BJS, the Bharatiya Janasangh, above 15% or 14%. Maximum, I think, about 12.9% to 13.9%. That was. So I think because of all that, especially 2014, Sujit, if you go back, it, where did the additional vote come from? It came from the middle class, educated people, urban professionals, people who are exposed, who don't like corruption. That was the vote. And this time, even that section, large section of even that population is also very disillusioned, because the moral high ground of na khaunga na khane dunga is destroyed because of the electoral bonds. Now you might ask, do people understand? Even I don't understand. How will a rural person understand? Rural person did not understand even what was 2G. But they get a sense that some hera-fairy has taken place, and people have money has changed hands. That's enough. So this thing has come, and on top of it, I mean, if you wanted me to say something about the economy, on top of that, now the unemployment is very severe, Sujit, and youth unemployment especially is 24%, one of the highest in the world. And if you disaggregate that figure between 20 and 25 years, the youth unemployment in that age bracket is almost about 44%. Now, inequality is very high. Historical height was not even during the British Raj, you had that kind of an inequality. Rural distress is very severe. And even your FMCG, MNCs are saying that, rural market is tepid, the demand is not growing. And on top of that, the farmers are unhappy. There is an agitation. A lot of sections are unhappy. Middle class is unhappy. GST, and all the small scale sector, medium scale sector. They've all their backs are broken. Demonetization, GST, all these things are now coming home to roost. On and contrast to nothing that was promised for the last 10 years is delivered. Now what happens is, Sujit, is this: you are very well, you know it very well, because you have come from a background of advertising and branding. Now, if it's good if you brand someone very well, but after a while, if the performance is not up to the mark of your publicity, if the brand doesn't walk the talk, what happens? There'll be
Correct.
backlash. This is what we are finding today. Another thing that I find is, Sujit, there is some sort of a Modi fatigue has set in. you know Wherever you go, you see only Modi talk. You switch on the television, Modi talking, radio, Modi talking, Man Ki Baat, and your mobile phone, wherever. And I have seen myself, I can tell you this. I've seen people who were admirers of Sri Narendra Modi till recently. Oh, again, come on. That kind of a thing has set it. And the gambit of Ram Janmabhoomi has not really paid off. I've been discussing with my friends also. I do not know, you also explore this. Tell me, whenever you find somebody. I'm looking for somebody who before 22nd January was not a BJP Modi supporter, but because of the Ram Janmabhoomi Pran Pratishtha on 22nd January, then that non-supporter has come out and said, "Oh, now I'll support."
There is none. There is none.
Yes. See, what it has done is it might have consolidated or deepened the existing support base, but it has not added a single vote. On top of it, because of unemployment, price rise, rural distress, and all this kind of a thing, and the middle class receding from them on account of electoral bonds, and there are so many other corruption issues. It could be electoral bonds, it could be PMK. So there are doubts about all this. Before that, Rafael, once this is like a fruit vending machine. Once starts coming down and falling, a lot of things will fall down. So that is what is happening. So therefore, that the small accrual that has happened, that is taking place from 2014 to 19, in comparison to 1998, has now started receding. It is evaporating. Therefore, my forecast is that they are going to go back to 24-25% and settle there, which means that they will really struggle to cross to 20 to 30. That used to be my forecast about a month or two ago. But today I feel I would make a correction to that. Instead of saying 220 to 230, I would say 200 to 220.
Oh, you're going to go down.
Yeah, that's my
Doctor,
forecast.
doctor, then I want to ask you a question. Are there two Indias, like people talk? One India that talks about progress, that talks about vikas, that talks about development, that talks about employment, that talks about job, that talks about economy. And another India that talks about communal, that talks about Hindutva, that talks about Ram Mandir, that talks about, are there two India? Because somewhere down the line, if there is no two India, I say this because the Prime Minister seems to be oscillating. You see, one day he says that, all Indians are my brothers and sisters and I can dare not talk against any community. And the next day he goes and talks about infiltrators and so on and so forth. So the fact that he's oscillating, I believe he's trying to please to India. One India where he's trying to be this liberal, secular, developmental face. And is there any fact to this?
No, I think there was some time back, there was an attempt to, project one developmental phase to one section, and then, Hindu-Muslim phase to the other section. There was. But now I don't see, because you see, if you carefully see the prime minister's speeches and their guarantees and all that, or all the election rhetoric and the narrative that they have created and propagating, Sujit, they have completely left the economy out. There's just no mention. They don't talk about jobs. They don't talk about gas cylinder. They don't talk about, imagine the prime minister himself, the prime minister candidate then himself said, before going to vote, you go and say namaskaram to your gas cylinder and then go. Remember? So
Yes.
from there, completely left the economy out. And two Indias, yes, two Indias in a sense, they are trying to, they're conflating between people who support them with the people support for the Hindutva agenda. It's not true, because their pitch 2014 and 19 was not that. And this time, when they're saying that, people are looking at it and people are, comparing what the promise and what is the delivery. But the two Indias thing that you brought in is very important because when I speak to people who are in US and Europe, and when I talk to them on the Zoom and conferences and all that, they say, look, India is now seen as a very happening place, and all the CEOs are going to India and meeting our prime minister, and we are a very big player on the world stage and all that. There are of course international geopolitical considerations, as against China. US wants to, befriend India and all that kind of. That is one part. The second part is the two Indias thing comes very relevant here, because the Americans or the West or all these rating agencies, etc., they see India as 330 million people. That is 33 crore middle class with purchasing power, who can buy their goods, buy their softwares, buy their cloud capacities and things like that. But not the 110 crores. That doesn't exist. So if you look at 33 crores, India is a happening country. India is a happening place. That is where you invest, and that's where the car, and that is the reason why your SUV sales are very high, but your two wheelers are very low. They're falling. Your 65-inch televisions are selling well, but your 30, 31, 32 inches are not selling very well. And your household saving is at a historical low of 5%. Your household debt is a historical high at 40%. Now, in that sense, there are two Indias, of course. And the large chunk of India, the prime minister has somehow been overlooking. It's gone out of his imagination. It has gone out of imagination not only conceptually, but if you look at that places like Manipur do not figure in his political consciousness, in his political imagination. Now, such a globetrotter, such a tireless traveler, he could not spare one hopping flight to Manipur, sit there for 10 minutes and talk to those people, and could not even meet those people who have come all the way from Manipur to Delhi and waited there for 10 days or 12 days. Look at that, which means in his imagination, in his political imagination, in his economic imagination, there is some problem, Sujit.
So are you therefore saying this 220? By the way, a lot of people are asking me. Let me tell you guys that what doctor said is Dr. Prabhakar says 200 to 220. In fact, he earlier said he was actually envisaging something like 220 to 240. Now he says instead of
No, 220 to 230 earlier. That was
220 to
before.
yeah, sorry, sir, sorry.
Yeah,
And now it is 200 to 220, right?
that's right.
Which is
That's my
so.
focus.
So, so are you therefore saying that this 30 crore of people who are aspiring for SUVs and 60 inches television, they are the people who are voting for Modi? They have these 200 seats?
They're not solidly behind the regime, of course. A large section of them, they're happy. They think India is a happening place. It is progressing, and the lived experience is that on Sunday midnight, around midnight in Mumbai, there's traffic jam and that kind of a thing. Yeah, I understand. But then the larger one, the other day somebody asked me, what do you think of the white paper that was released by the government on the economy? I said, look, I don't have to wait for the government to release the economy white paper on the economy, because I buy my vegetables every week, and after I buy my vegetables, I get a white paper, and that tells me about the health of the economy. And every month I go and buy my provisions, my kirana, and there again in the shop they give me a white paper. So I'm not trying to compare prices of tur dal under Jawaharlal Nehru and who. No, it's not that. I'm trying to compare the price of a tur dal kilo in November, December 23 and today. That used to be about 110, 112 rupees. Now it is, if you go to a proper Ratnadeep kind of a supermarket, it's about 223 rupees. So I get a white paper. Now, if you tell me this is the headline inflation, But headline inflation, metals, the basket consists of so many things which are not relevant to me. My thing that are relevant to me are my food, my pulses, my rice, my sugar, my coffee, my vegetables, and my eggs and my milk. This is the one. And my education inflation, my health inflation. Can I afford to send my children to school? Can I afford to go to a hospital and get treated if I'm ill? These are the things they have, including from gas cylinder to your petrol prices to all these things. They've gone up so much, and this is the one which is impacting the 110 crores. This is the other India that we are talking about, which is not a part of the political or economic imagination of this regime and the prime minister.
So, Doctor, at the cost of repeating my question, I just want to very clearly define this 220 seats for Congress. Let's take 220. Can we define this 220 voters?
Define in what sense? I mean, you want a breakdown state-wise?
No, I just want a profile of this 220 seats ka voters.
Okay.
Who are going to vote for Bharatiya Janata Party?
This is a broad calculation. I've not done a quantitative study, but I
Fair
am
enough. Fair enough.
armed with historical quantitative data and 2014 quantitative data, 2019 quantitative data, and the BJ's quantitative data, and the polling percentages and all that in different states. But the broad thing is from 37% when they're falling back and going back to sub 25%. It will necessarily have to bring their numbers down in terms of the number of seats. That's one. The second thing is, who are the people who are, I mean, you probably you're trying to get at who are these people who are going to give them the 200 seats or 220 seats.
Correct. The profile, yes.
You see, now the question is this. There are people who would tell you, and you see that those kind of clips on social media, they tell you, even if the gas cylinder goes up to 4,000 rupees also, I'll vote for Narendra Modi because he has done this yet, Ram Temple or 370, etc., etc. Now, Sujit, the point is that what sort of an India are we looking for? And India, what is the idea of your India? What is the idea of my India? Now, your India, the idea of your India could be, it is a Hindu Rashtra, Hindu majority state, and Hindus have the right to be, the rulers, and they own. And the other could be, it is everybody's country. We should all live together. It's a plural country. It's a diverse country. It's a secular country. Everybody has a place here. And these are the two. And the first one, they are there always for decades, even centuries probably. They have not gone away and they will not go away. They are here even today. And add to them or subtract from that, on the basis of economy, price rise, or, some people are happy because their lives are better. They are able to buy SUVs. It's a K-shaped economy growth. You're on the right side of many of these divides. You're on the right side of the digital divide. You're on the right side of a caste divide. You're on the right side of an economic divide. You're on the right side of people who are doing well and people who are not doing well. All these things, caste divide and everything. And that section will definitely root for Narendra Modi and Narendra Modi's economic management, economic philosophy, Hindu philosophy, and all that. The other is not going to be with them. So, if you ask me, who are these 220 people? Who are these people who are going to give them 200, 220 or 200 are the first category. Number one, that this is a Hindu Rashtra. It should be a Hindu Rashtra. Whatever it is, 370, Ram Temple, etc., etc. Maybe Kashi, maybe something else and something else. That's one. The other thing is, yes, we are doing well. And the third one is, everybody in the West was also praising us. We are in the international map, the world map, and all the world leaders are coming. G20 is coming here and asking for, what should we do about the problems that are plaguing the world, and that constituency. The other constituency is the one. Say, since I mentioned G20, let me say, when the G20 leaders were going on a road, on both the sides, see, they're screened from the other India. They're not let to see the other India. No, that India wants a different kind of dispensation, different kind of an economic philosophy, this different kind, and they are the ones who are going to be the other than 200, 220. The rest of them are those people.
Correct. This is what I wanted to kind of get to, Doctor. You see, we are 40 minutes into the conversation, close to 2,000 people, 1,900 people watching us, but we never spoke about the opposition, not a word. We didn't speak about Rahul Gandhi or anybody. We were talking about the India who's going to vote for Modi or vote against Modi. Now, what my point is, sir, therefore, have these cephalogists, not that I'm questioning anybody, but have these cephalogists, have these pollsters missed this point about uh, for Modi voters and against Modi voters, and they have been focusing on whether Rahul Gandhi is good or whether is that happened, and is that the reason for this confusion?
That's right. You see, they are not very wrong. In a normal kind of an analysis, that's what you do in every election. Who is fighting whom, and what are his strengths and weaknesses? What are the strengths and weaknesses? You do SWOT analysis and all that kind of a thing. Yes, for political parties, for leaders, and for the contenders, who is against who, and all that kind of a thing. But this election, as I said, this is a very different kind of an election. If you miss that point, you miss the entire narrative of the election. And then let me tell you one more thing, Sujit. You see, for instance, we had an election in Karnataka where BJP government was defeated. Now, if you or the BJP or the party which has formed the government, the Congress party, if they are under the illusion that they have defeated BJP, Congress has defeated BJP, then that is a gross error. It is the civil society of Karnataka which defeated the government of run by BJP. And the Congress, because you see, in an electoral politics, the Congress happens to be in the opposition there. Therefore, the Congress happens to be the beneficiary of that defeat. But if they think that they have defeated BJP, then again, they're going to be in a problem. So, therefore, again today in 2024 Lok Sabha elections, if BJP, Modi are defeated, if the opposition thinks that they have defeated Modi, again there's going to be an error. And you know, it for the reason why BJP today is in a difficulty is that 2014 and 2019 they have not learned a lesson from their victory. It's easy for people to learn lessons from defeats, but it is equally important in my reckoning to learn lessons from victory. And it's same thing applies to Congress party also. If Congress party doesn't learn lesson from its victory in Karnataka, that it is not their victory, but it is the civil society and a huge network of civil society organizations which worked, and the Congress party became a beneficiary of that. If they miss that point, if they miss the lesson from that victory, then they are going to be in trouble. And tomorrow in Delhi elections, I mean in national elections also. So in brief, in one sentence, if you want me to tell you that, look, generally yes, you have to look at leaders and parties and all that, but this election, to my mind, is an exception. It is not between two leaders, between two parties, or between two alliances. It is between Narendra Modi and his party and his alliance on the one side, and the people of India on the other side. And as I said, nobody is stronger than the people of India. Yeah.
Doctor, two questions more. Doctor, first is I want to now come to opposition after 45 minutes of our conversation. I want to talk about India Alliance in general, Rahul Gandhi, and Congress in particular. Do you think, in your professional opinion, do you think the opposition has mobilized the civil society well enough?
No, no. You see, civil society mobilized on its own, in spite of the opposition, in spite of the political parties. And even today, Sujit, let me tell you, there are a lot of problems now in with the Election Commission of India. Who is questioning mostly and who is fighting the Election Commission and the kind of irregularities, who are day in and day out pointing it out and calling out all these? It is mostly the civil society activists and civil society organizations, not so much of political parties. I'm not completely saying, denying, their role. They're also doing something. But, and Sujit, you will know, for instance, if you look at, you can forget about the mainstream media. But the non-mainstream media, the digital media, the YouTube and social platforms, etc. You know, you don't know who they are, and they are not going to be MPs and MLAs tomorrow. They are the ones who are carrying the fight, and their critique is much more effective than the critique of the opposition parties.
Politi-
I'm sure you can think of many names. They're very prominent names. We don't have to mention them. You know them all, and they are the ones who are really shaking the government. If the government today is afraid of anybody, it is afraid of channels like yours. They're not afraid of political parties so much. So it is the civil society, and who is coordinating them? Nobody is coordinating. Content is created in a very disaggregated way from various places, absolutely uncoordinated. And somebody is putting up a cartoon, somebody is putting up a meme, somebody is putting up a data, somebody is questioning something, somebody is all this is happening, and somebody is doing very cogently. This is coming from the civil society, which was not the case in 19, which was not the case in 2014. So if the BJP thinks that it is fighting a political party, then they are fighting a wrong battle, and it's good they're fighting a wrong battle. And it's almost like a guerrilla fight, because you see, for a conventional army, it can confront another conventional army. But if the army is moving and somebody is sniping at you, at that army, from a treetop, from a rooftop, from here and from there, a conventional big army cannot handle that situation. That is how the United States was defeated in many places. It was not a conventional war. So today, the BJP and the Narendra Modi and their forces are facing a very similar situation, where they are facing defiance, revolt, and attacks, sniping from you can't put a target on anybody's back. It's easy to, as long as you put a target on Rahul Gandhi's back or somebody else's back, and in the Mamata Banerjee's back or Stalin's back, it's easy. But you can't put a million targets, a million bullseye.
That's the point. Doctor, so are you saying you're absolutely convinced that India Alliance will be coming on the 4th of June, will be taking oath on 5th or 6th or 7th of June?
Sujit, let me say this clearly, unambiguously, as clearly as I can, really, is, after the 4th of June, you will see a non-BJP government and a non-NDA government. I'm not going to speculate who is going to be the prime minister, who's going to be the
Correct,
minister.
correct, correct.
I'm not going to speculate. But BJP government, Modi government, NDA government are a thing of the past. This much I can tell you.
Sir, last question. Sir, tell me, if we all are wrong and Bharatiya Janata Party gets 300 seats, Two sub questions to that. A, why could that happen? What could that reason be? A. B, what happens next? What happens to India after that?
Okay. Now, the first question, why could that happen? Um, you have a completely compromised Election Commission of India. Very sad, but that's a fact. Why I say that it's a compromise thing is that, you know, it has now become, Election Commission has become a government department, in the sense the government appointed the election commissioners. The role of the Supreme Court is eliminated from it. One. And that necessarily does not mean that the election commission is going to be partial. You have to, give them some kind of a leeway, let them prove. And I waited when gross violations of model code of conduct was taking place. The election commission was unmoved, and it did not do anything in Surat, did not move a finger when things were happening. Of course, did not happen, thank God, in
In
Indore.
the
And look at again in Chandigarh municipal mayoral election. You can see that kind of a thing. And in the see, why does the prime minister need, or on behalf of the prime minister, why should anybody need to prevent somebody from filing a nomination paper in Varanasi? Tell me, is there a reason? Why do you do that? They've done it. So this is the atmosphere. Another thing is, then why is there a difference of about 6%, 7%, in some cases, in some states, in some constituencies, even more discrepancy between uh, the votes polled, declared provisionally, and then the final figures, and the election commission taking almost 2 weeks to declare what is the final percentage. And even today, the election commission is not willing to give you the actual gross figures. They're giving you only the percentages.
yes,
And why is it 17C such a huge thing? It's a very simple. The kind of excuses sound so lame as the State Bank of India's excuses for the electoral bonds. The same playbook. So and if as you say, if that is that scenario of BJP coming back with a lot of seats, 370, 400, 400 par and all that kind of a thing. One factor, very important factor, could be this is one. I hope I'm wrong, that election commission is fair and it's going to give us all the data, and it is not only fair but also be seen as fair and all that kind of thing. Oh, fine, that's fine. But in any case, willy-nilly, rightly or wrongly, by hook or crook, or for good reasons or whatever, if at all the BJP comes back to power under the present leadership, I think you will not see another election in this country, Sujit. You know, don't think that I'm alarmist. I'll tell you the reason also. And whatever is happening today in Manipur is likely to happen in every state. In every state, that kind of a violence, that kind of a, flames, that kind of a, you know, struggle, and enmities and violence, that is likely to replicate in every state. Now, I have I've met people who would say, it can happen anywhere, but not in India. Okay, India is a robust country and all that. Good. I wish I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I wish I'm wrong. But I'll tell you one small incident, anecdote from my own life. I lost my father when I was 22. Till I lost my father, I used to think that his father would go, my neighbor's father would go, my friend's father would die, in my street many people would die. My father would never die. But that also happens. That also happened. So don't ever be under the impression, under the delusion that it can happen anywhere. In Armenia it might happen, in Turkey it might happen, in Russia it might happen, in Korea it might happen, but it won't happen in India. No, it can also happen in India if you are not vigilant, if you don't call out these kind of things. And that is very important. Please don't be complicit. And I also tell you and your viewers that the election of India today, what is underway, is not going to be over on the 1st of June with the ending of polling and 4th of June with the conclusion of the counting. I think we are going to see a lot of tumultuous weeks following the 4th of June because the incumbent government will be very reluctant to vacate the seats of power because they have too many ugly skeletons in their cupboard, starting from Rafael to Pegasus to electoral bonds to PM care to their accounts and so many other things which you and I do not know, including the kind of aggressive interventions that they're making on foreign soil. Where some people are even terming India as a rogue state, that kind of a thing. That kind of an adventurous things that are happening. All these things, if they come under scrutiny, Sujit, I tell you, the project, whatever project that they have in their mind, the Hindutva project or their political existence, will be set back by over 2 decades because it's what is likely to happen will almost be akin to what happened to these forces and this narrative after the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi. That is the kind of danger they are staring in. Whether they realize it or not, we do not know. But they're trying to do everything to stick to power. You can see all sorts of things. Otherwise, why do you neutralize election commission? Can somebody today? I'll tell you what. So many civil society organizations and political parties are asking the election commission to give the 17C data. They are saying, it's difficult, and they go to the court and say it is difficult and all that kind of a thing. Now,
People will morph, is what they said. They will morph the
that can be done. I mean, then why is the government having any website? Okay.
Correct.
The point is this, Sujit. Uh, even for appearance's sake, the BJP is not asking for 17C. Why? Why is it not asking? At least for appearance's sake, okay, we are all political parties. We want 17C to be displayed there. Why can't the BJP ask for it? It's not asking. Another thing I tell you what. You see, when the electoral bonds judgment came, the decision came, and the Supreme Court had said that it is unconstitutional. You have lived long enough. I have lived long enough. We have seen so many judgments and so many decisions by the courts and Supreme Court and high courts, various high courts. In every instance, the political leadership or the government or the chief ministers or ministers or the prime minister used to say, we respect the court's judgment. Now, after the electoral bonds decision by the Supreme Court, can you give me one instance of anybody starting from the prime minister to anybody in the ruling party and the ruling dispensation who had come out and said, we respect the Supreme Court's decision? Do you recall? Not even for appearance's sake. On top of that, the prime minister giving an interview to a Tamil channel Tanti and later on to ANI would say that those people who are opposing the electoral bonds will come to regret it. What does it mean? And then another thing I'll tell you. Have you got a sense of the prime minister ever behaving like a you know somebody who's just officiating until the next election? Whether he would win or not is a different thing.
Correct.
But he is a caretaker prime minister, technically, isn't he?
Correct.
when the elections are declared. But do you get the sense? No, because they are, in fact, today I see a news report that they have taken 2.6 lakh crores or something from the Reserve Bank of India. Business is as usual with the government. And he, after the elections are declared, after the model code of conduct has come into effect, the prime minister goes and addresses the Reserve Bank of India, says that, I'm coming back and you have to prepare a plan for the next 100 years, 100 days. I beg your pardon. The What does it mean? Is he a caretaker prime minister or not? Technically, tell me. You are a very experienced person.
Absolutely.
Does
Absolutely.
does he behave like that? Does he come across like that? Does anybody
No.
talk like that? And what does that all mean? It means, things are not all right. Our democracy is being subverted. It's in danger of subversion. I wish I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But somebody will have to convince me that I'm wrong. Somebody will have to convince me that the ECI, Election Commission of India, is constituted properly, impartially. They are acting impartially. They are treating everybody even-handedly. Somebody will have to convince me. I'm not convinced. When I see the reports, when I examine how they are behaving, I don't see that. I do not see why they cannot part with the data of 17C. I cannot see that. And I cannot see why somebody cannot file a nomination paper. I cannot see why a lot of nominations are withdrawn and one principal adversary's nomination is cancelled. Why is it happening? So if you look at that, and with on account of all this, as you say, if they retain power and come back to power, then, as I said, I think you are unlikely to see a free and fair election ever again in India as long as these people hold power. You might have. I mean, Russia has elections under Putin. Xi Jinping also conducts elections. North Korea also conducts elections. You can have that kind of a facade of an election. That's a different thing. The other thing is that every state can really become like Manipur. It will burn. These are the things that I apprehend.
Sir, for the first time, I hope you're wrong. But unfortunately, like you
I,
said,
I
doctor,
do.
I
I
I can't convince you otherwise. That's a fact. That is a fact. Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you so much. We have a huge audience viewing us right now as we speak, but thank you so much. And let's catch up sometime soon. I could not take a lot of audience questions. I'm so sorry. I got so engrossed in this conversation that I couldn't take a lot of audience questions. We've crossed around 3,000 odd questions. I am so sorry I couldn't take your questions, guys. I apologize next time when Dr. Parakala comes in. I promise you, I will not ask questions. I will take all your questions and I will ask him this. Sir, I'm extremely sorry for this. That's that. And yeah, log on to my editorial. We'll talk about 17C.
Before you sign off, Sujit, allow me just
Sir,
one second. You know,
please,
I,
please.
I hugely respect your platform. I enjoy speaking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you
Hold
so
your
much.
platform in high regard.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That is so sweet of you to say that. Thank you so much. And I'll see you soon. Good
Thank you.
night, sir.
Bye-bye.